You're listening to the Real Estate Radio Hour, the show that brings you unfiltered stories and insight from the Twin Cities real estate world with your hosts, Chris Rooney, broker at RE/MAX Preferred, and Andy Presky, leader of the Preferred Home Team at RE/MAX Advantage Plus.
Hello.
What up? All here and accounted for.
Whoa.
That was the first week off in, 2 years been doing this? Almost more?
For sure.
Yeah, that's right. We did not do it. Last week I said, I'm taking off. I'm letting you guys do it. Look what happens. Everything goes to hell.
You know, the key to communication, Chris, is talking to other people and letting them know that you're taking a week off.
Answering
I don't know,
other people.
maybe a day before. And,
answering other people. I got receipts. Did you ever go on Twitter?
No.
I have receipts.
Yeah, that's what they say. They got the proof.
Yeah, I got receipts.
Hey, well, I got some good news from last week. I'm going to show you guys where I was staying. It was beautiful in Salvador and Brazil, but this was my place. And after this, I want to have you guys guess how much I paid a night for it. You ready?
Yes. Whoa.
Looks like a little pond over there.
Yeah, the quality is from the Airbnb host. I didn't use my video because it had some extra props in it.
Yeah, I bet. I'm sure.
So that's the main bedroom. You know, you can hear the ocean at night, and this is the second bedroom they had in here.
2 bedrooms?
Yeah.
What
This
country?
is the little bathroom. They got a blue light in there. Brazilians love their bathroom activities, especially showering.
Whoa.
It's got
What's
the
all
little
that
cute
weird
decorations.
Oh. Low presents.
I mean, that's got to be worth a lot right there. Was that
What are we
saran
doing
wrap?
with these plates?
I think they wrap your meal up in there.
I mean, all the things you possibly need, you know. Airbnb gets a bad rep now, but I think they did a good job. They're working hard.
All right,
There's a pool too. She didn't show the pool. It's to the left. There's 2 pools.
Okay, tell us where it is.
Salvador in Brazil. Oh, here's the pool. So you can see it from my apartment too.
Andy, I'm not sure about you, but I'm not paying more than $15 a night for that place.
15.
15, yep.
Oh, I'd probably get suckered into $600-700 a night, I'm sure.
No, it was $50. $50 a night, which is not cheap in Brazil, but I think it was definitely quality. It was a gated compound, so you're totally safe. And in the compound, They have cafes, haircut places, shopping, everything you need, security everywhere. Because Salvador, they say it's one of the most dangerous places in Brazil, but no, I never had no issues. If you want to go to the tourist stuff, you just take an Uber. They have police everywhere, so they're trying to keep the tourism definitely safe, but it was an amazing experience.
That was obviously on the Atlantic then?
Yep.
Okay.
Salvador is actually the first main Portuguese city in Brazil when they came over. I think it's like 1500 something. They built up Salvador, and the downtown is like straight out of Europe on the Mediterranean Sea with the pastel colored buildings. Freaking fantastic.
It looked cool.
Yeah. That's crazy because you can't get there's nothing $50.
Motel 8? Could you get that still or no?
No way. There might be in Alamosa, Colorado. There might be.
Yeah.
The place
crap holes are $100 a night.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's nothing. So, all right.
Yeah.
Tell me, boys, what's going on in that market? A 2-week break. We gotta hear what's happening.
Give us a 2-week update, Andy.
Well, let me tell you, folks. Interestingly enough, Chris, I was just reading an article, about housing, and they were talking about how Gen Z right now, which is the young kids, right, is only accounting for 6% of the buyer's market right now. So it was an interesting article where they were making fun of all the agents like us that are worrying about our TikToks and worry about our whatever, our Facebooks and whatever, trying to connect with this younger generation, and they're just straight up not buying houses. And they said that guess who the dominant player still is in buying houses? Boomers. Like 26% of the market's still boomers. They got the money. They're buying their dream homes. Guess who's number 2? Gen X, baby.
Is that what we are?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so the dominant part of the marketplace is being controlled by the older crowd right now. So this article I was reading was like, quit wasting your money on TikToks because those guys aren't buying anyway, unless you're renting apartments. And I kind of chuckled because I go, I think that we're finally getting the whip of the tail with some of this not teaching kids about money in school and not teaching kids about how to build wealth. And it's starting to bite us in the butt a little bit where these kids are just like, no, I'm okay being a renter and I'm not for now. But it's never been that low. It's always been, 18 to 20% of the market was that first generation of buyer. And it's shockingly low. And the baby boomers are shockingly high where they've got money and they're still spending it. Normally there's a plateau. You hit 65 and you spend money all the way up to 65 and then you start not spending money. You got things paid off. You're not working. You're not commuting as much. You don't need that new car, that new Armani suit. You start scaling down your lifestyle and spending it on other things like travel and healthcare and other things, but you don't, so it's interesting. I thought that was a real interesting report that came out.
That's countrywide, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, because most people are also this thing shows up, but most people and areas are not as good or as healthy as our areas right now. We have a lot of lower inventory and things still move fast, but you got to do them right, but they still move in fast. And so I wonder, the people that are maybe those first time buyers are trying to purchase, let's just say up to 400,000. There's not a lot of people putting on their $400,000 houses because they've got them. Maybe they owe 200 on them, and that's at 3%. And now they're going to sell and go to 600,000, get their 400 and get a really good deal on that side. But then they're going to go to double their mortgage and double their interest rate. And so it's like they're moving to $1 million.
That is where that inventory still continues to control its own self because people aren't willing to trade. I mean, do the math on, go get a mortgage calculator and you look at your $500,000 house payment at 3%, right? And then you jump it up to 6%. and you jump up to $1 million, and people are like, oh my, I can't afford $7,000 a month. And you're like, you're right, you can't. And that's why people aren't making those moves right now. They're sitting tight. They're enjoying that low interest rate, living life easy, and letting inflation take the rest of their money for now until things get back in whack. And
there's another thing that the boomers have too. And it's called that.
well,
That they're getting the money out of their house and then they're paying cash to be able to do it. But it's so true that you'd think baby boomers would be like, hey, you know what, we're going to settle down. And I don't really think that's the case. I think what people are doing is they're saying, not only we're going to right size, but we're going to move it down maybe into Florida, and we're going to have a place here, or we're going to put both of them together and have this amazing place that everyone's going to come visit us at. When we're building houses for these people, we're building a lot of for 60 and over. I mean, 7,000 square foot homes for, obviously complete empty nesters, but they're equipping it for, their kids, their families. And it's very interesting.
Listen to this here now. This is interesting to kind of add to what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
First-time buyers made up 26% of the market, down from last year's 34%. Okay, that used to be first-time buyers. The average first-time buyer now is 36 years old, up from 33 last year. The average home buyer climbed to 58 years old, which is both are the all-time highest first-time home buyers and average home buyer. These stats are crazy, man. And it's like, anyway, 61% of the couples are married couples, 17% were single females, 19% were single males, 10% were unmarried couples. Not that matters, just interesting stats, So like I always say, if you follow these stats, this is how you write your future ads in the future, right? So, as a real estate agent anyway.
I'll tell you what, I've always enjoyed that whole average thing. Whenever that age is higher than me, I love that.
Well, aren't you part of the greatest generation, Chris?
No, that's way older.
What?
But Andy, let me comment on this. So, like, I saw this recently that millennials are finally starting to get a piece of the housing market, and I mean these stats are pretty decent. And going back to your social media, I mean I know all millennials are on the Facebook for sure, and then the Instagram. Maybe not the TikTok, but all the TikTok stuff. It comes to the Instagram, then to the Facebook, the Twitters. And I ask you to this is I think adults are more addicted at sometimes to social media. You guys are always liking stuff. You're always on things, looking. So that was interesting. I think the millennials are very big into social media and they're buying and becoming that, but maybe not the high end prices like the boomers.
Well,
boomers,
this is what I always forget, Nick. This is what, as you get older, buddy, you're going to start realizing this. Like those millennials are getting older, and as they're getting older, they're still in that. They're in the number one at that 36 years old for first time buyers. That's still in that window, right? So it's like they're the millennials that are out there buying. What I'm talking about is the Gen Z, the younger ones, younger than the millennials, and they're just not waking up and backfilling what the millennials, normally they're taken off, and this younger generation under 26, I think it is just not taken off. So
yeah, I mean that's what we came to the whole affordability thing, and this is why I see a million reels about it on real estate Instagram all the time. Is like it's different than it was, back in the day. And their whole idea is, okay, the boomers, you guys sent all our manufacturing overseas. We did all the deals with China to get the cheap toys, and you sold out our future, and now we're kind of stuck in this situation. And like Chris just said, now you're building multi-generational homes so we can, live with you guys and so forth. But that's the whole feud online. Every time I see it, it's like the older people, you guys sold us out for the money. And my life's great, so I'm not blaming nobody, but that is a big problem for everyone right now.
We did apologize for that, didn't we, Chris?
Yeah.
No,
you have to apologize for everything. That was the way it was.
No, it wasn't the way it was. It was corporate America. It was your government that basically incentivized people to move jobs overseas, and that was about 4 presidents back. And then all of a sudden, now you had one guy that came in as a recluse for a couple of years trying to bring them back, but then nobody wants to work anymore. So what's happening is they have these $30 an hour manufacturing jobs. Look at all the companies that have moved back to the States. And now even companies like our local company, Polaris, is expanding their business back down into Mexico again because they can't get anybody to work in the States. And they only want to spend so much money on robotics. So it does, I think one of the other mistakes that was made with a lot of these younger kids is telling everybody they should go to college. What a waste of money. I mean, for not for everybody, but for some it was good, for some it's bad. Tech schools, trade schools, things where you work with your hands, keep the buildings running, maintenance. All these jobs are very, very valuable jobs. And we've always, as a society, put them down like they're a lower level job, and they're not. I mean, hey, call a plumber right now and ask for a new sink on your faucet on your kitchen, and you're spending $1,500. And I guarantee you that guy's walking out of there with $500-600 in his pocket. You know what I mean? Or gal.
If you're going to be an electrician or a plumber or whatever, what jersey do you wear on your Instagram and TikTok when it's time to graduate from high school? Because that was like a monster thing. Oh my God, I got to get a picture of my college I'm going to. And if I'm not going to go to college, I'll just pretend I'm going to go to college. And I better sign up and spend $50,000 for a year.
Well, and that is, I'll tell you, Chris, that is one, and I'm not trying to be all, talk about the way the world's great or bad, but, you send all these kids off when they don't know what they want to be when they're older. You put them into crippling amounts of debt that while they're trying to figure out who the hell they are. And all of a sudden now they graduate and they got a degree they don't even want, but they have a 4-year degree, but they have a pile of debt. Now they can't buy a house. Like what you're talking about, Nick, it's society in general that's setting young kids up right now to fail. And I think we better wake the hell up, because these people that are out there that are teaching these kids this stuff, you need to look at opportunities in the marketplace. Look at anybody that comes from another country outside of America. And what do? I was watching that, America's Got Talent the other day, and there was a guy that came in from the Philippines, and he goes, well, he had a translator, and he says, I'm a fisherman in the morning, but he says, I have all afternoon, so I deliver stuff in the afternoons. And they go, so you have 2 jobs? And he looks at the camera and goes, well, yeah, like, why wouldn't I? I want to make money. I want to live a nice life. I want to have things. And so he's a fisherman and a delivery guy, and they're acting like, oh my God, this poor guy. He's not a poor guy. He's doing his job. He's living life, man. Seizing opportunities. Anyway, sorry.
Well, I think too, Chris, to go back on your point about what jersey you're going to wear instead of go and become a plumber after high school, is the social media age and the perception. Because the reality is the most important thing for people now is how you look on the social media. So great first segment, but let's get into some fun stuff, some positivity. We'll do some social media reacts, and it's gonna be brought to you by Andy Prasky.
Well, they said I could have 30 seconds on the show for a quick ad. Andy Prasky, Remax Advantage Plus, Andy@Prasky.com if you want to email us. Here's the thing, 22 years in the business, over 1,400 sales. I'd like to help you with your real estate needs. If that's buying, if that's selling, if that's building, whatever it is, give us a call, send us an email. Let's get you started on your real estate journey. I'd like to help you on the way. Lots of experience here, and I would like to put it to work for you. Andy Prasky, Remax Advantage Plus. Thanks for listening to the show.
Imagine life from this perspective. That thing is gonna hit me! And best of all, the entire house is fully automated. You can turn on the gorgeous fountains right from your phone. Shoot, they're not working. Hey, I can feel my toe.
That's awesome.
I'll tell you what, that's the kind of the social media part that I like. I just think that it's engaging, it's funny, it's creative. And I think that gets people excited about what you could probably do for them. And so, but it's fun. These guys can get their personality out there as well.
Yeah. I love advertising that makes me chuckle.
Yeah.
Do you play instruments?
Barely. No. I have no technical ability, and I know nothing.
You must know something.
Well, I know what I like and what I don't like, and I'm decisive about what I like and what I don't like.
So what are you being paid for?
The confidence that I have in my taste and my ability to express what I feel.
That's the famous music CEO. I think he's been with the Stones, all the rappers. I forgot his name. Rick Rubin, maybe. Yeah, and he's just like.
That's what Rooney's gonna look like when he's sitting under the pier in Florida in a couple years.
In my Sprinter.
Yeah.
I think that's legalization of a certain drug right there. Just saying. Yeah, but
If you only have $300.
Oh, there was a little message there about part-time agents, and I think one of the big things that I see in this industry is the lack of knowledge of realtors, and it's alarming. It's alarming, and because I think what happens is a lot of times people are just worried about, oh my gosh, I got to get a sale, and they concentrate on just trying to get the client, but yet not knowing what they're really doing. So they get them into a house, they get them into a contract, they don't know what they've signed, and all of a sudden there's problems later. And I mean, the facts are, 50% of the agents sell less than one house a year. I mean, a year. And then your next 30%, are 10 or less. And so you got to really be careful of that. You get, I mean, and we always talk about commission and, oh my gosh, they get paid way too much. And I agree. Some people do get paid way too much. You get what you pay for. So look into it. Public service announcement.
Thank you. I
Yep.
feel better.
Yep.
All due respect, you got no fucking idea what it's like to be number one.
Andy, you get
actual meetings happening right now in about 50 offices across the state of Minnesota.
Yeah, you've got experience, a lot more experience with teams than I do, and isn't that true? I mean, we've had it where we've had agents, in our brokerage, they sell their second house, and it might be an expensive house, and then want to get paid more because it's more expensive, and we shouldn't get as much. So it's like, dude.
Well, I think that, with teams too, I think the idea there is that, it's all in how you position it. I think we've got a pretty open book of business. Anybody wants to see what we're doing or how we're doing it, they can see it. It's a little different. Like when you have teams that are, we're not going to tell you where the business comes from, and we're not going to tell you how we generated it, and you're just going to run the leads. There's a perception there that lead generation is easy. And so I think that there are some teams where they recruit you, they take a lot of your paycheck. So, the more the team does for you, the more of the paycheck they're going to take from that agent. So you get some of these gigantic teams with all the advertising everywhere. Sometimes they're only getting this much of that check. So, but their job is they're part of a food chain. And so there's inside people setting the ads, there's people following up with the leads, there's people booking the appointments, there's people writing the contracts, and then you meet the real estate agent. And so there's a lot of mouths to feed in front of that. So it's like, I look at it and say, okay, so there's different kinds of teams that are out there. And if the more the team does for the individual, the more you'll see behavior like that versus the more open and, hey, Chris, you and I, let's go on a ride along today. I want to see how you present your market analysis to this multi-million-dollar property. And I get to see it firsthand, and I see how much work is into that, and you're doing everything, and I'm observing it. That is more of a mentorship, right? And that's more of a team that I run. I'm more mentorship. I'm not the ego. I'm not the Andy. I'm preferred home team, not Andy Prasky team.
Hold on. Oh, no.
If you have your name in your title of your company, you're an egomaniac.
I know. Remember we had this battle on the radio show. Whose name got to be said first?
Yeah.
All right. Hey, let's stroke your ego though, Andy. We got 2 this or that's just for you, and I want Chris to really test you.
Oh God.
I'm testing.
We have a city in China, Qinghao, and
oh, wow.
well, Mahtomedi or Stillwater. Boy, what a fantastic battle to have here with these two cities. I'll tell you, Mahtomedi is that sleeper kind of. Where is Mahtomedi? A lot of people don't even know where it is. Up on the northeast end of town there, nestled closer to the loop of the 494, 694 loop. But yet the streets are fun. They're kind of funky, cabin-esque, kind of cottage feel. But yet that there's fantastic schools. There's lots of beautiful home sites to be built on or that are built on. A lot of them are being renovated, kind of replaced, remodeled, whatever. Great area, great suburb, really of kind of St. Paul. And then when you wander out a little farther down the old 36, you're going to come to the beautiful town of Stillwater. Now, if you've never been there, it's a great place to spend a day. You know, you go downtown, there's lots of shopping. You can go on a paddle boat ride. You can, enjoy the beautiful scenic historic riverfront that's down there. Great restaurants, great fun to be had. Just a wonderful, the second you get there, you feel like you're on vacation kind of a vibe to it. And bring your money, though. It's expensive. I mean, everything's I always joke around saying a Coke's $9, but it is, they know where you're at. And so I like both cities. Now, Stillwater has some more space between the two where they can grow, kind of into that Lake Elmo area. They kind of keep expanding up 36 towards the city. But both are beautiful cities. I don't know which one I would pick because I would probably enjoy being on the river more than I would enjoy. I don't know.
You did say something at the beginning about Mahtomedi. A lot of people don't even know where it is.
Right.
And it's true. So what makes is Mahtomedi kind of more of a, hey, it's three cities together kind of thing, or is it like Stillwater? I mean, you've got the river and everything, and you got the water, and it's a riverfront kind of community that you know where it's at. Is that what you have in Mahtomedi, or is it kind of spread out where different kids go to different schools and different cities go to the same schools?
Yeah, there's school district boundaries are always kind of broken up, and in that area. And I know there's a White Bear Lake has kind of I do a development up in Hugo where the Mahtomedi schools come right up and around, and there's Forest Lake to the north and White Bear Lake to the south. So the districts are kind of following the age demographic, right? So if also you have an older established area that doesn't have a lot of kids going in the schools, they'll move boundaries to pull more kids into those schools. But it definitely, the Mahtomedi district of those three I just mentioned are probably, the most desired in that Hugo area that I see, at least from my customers' perspective. I haven't actually researched it myself, but.
Yeah, I just don't think you hear a lot about Mahtomedi.
It is literally the sleeper town. I mean, it's, if you want to, like, I would say you're in the city, but you're in a small town kind of vibe. That is Mahtomedi for sure.
So Stillwater, I mean, typically riverfront communities have some old living in there.
Yes, historic.
Housing stock is older.
Yep.
What if I was I was married, decent, live okay, probably want to buy something in the $600,000 to $800,000 range. Where would I go in Stillwater to get maybe the best bang for my buck?
600,000 to 800,000. You can buy a beautiful place nestled into a historical place on the hillside that needs some improvements. It depends on the view. If you wanted that historic, there's a lot of older, beautiful properties, Victorian style properties there. And then what I think you'd really appreciate, Chris, is that you could visit a lot of your good buddies that are locked up there in prison in Stillwater. And you could probably ride your bike over there.
Oh my God, I knew I heard of Stillwater.
That's the only weird part about the area is that it has the big old naughty prison,
Yeah, exactly.
Other than that, and I don't, you don't ever hear anything about it anymore. It's pretty hush hush, but yeah, you don't hear much about that. But
I'll tell you what, I got to visit the Stillwater prison. I got to my uncle did a lot of things in Dakota County, and he knew the warden over there, so I got to actually visit it. That was quite interesting. I was stunned by the population that was in there, though.
Right.
I was thinking I was going to get mugged and beat up and made their friend, and I didn't feel one bit nervous in there at all. It was really interesting.
Yeah, no, I when I was back in college, I worked for a little company where we'd have to go we'd stop in Stillwater and they'd go through all the gates and everything, and we would get these samples, for drug testing. And then I just remember it was just so intimidating going in there through all the security. But once you get your badge, they just, hey buddy, how's it going? You just walk right in, and get your stuff and leave.
Andy, how do you think that does? I mean, seriously, how do you think the prison affects a town?
Well, obviously, it's something that there's a stigma. I mean, there's a if somebody was from out of town and they heard of a prison, they first thing you think about is, oh, what if there's a prison break? Well, it's a maximum security prison, and I don't think that Stillwater people want us talking about this, but I don't feel that it affects the locals that live in the area. They don't even realize it's there because it's not part of their life. It's just a big building, just like a big warehouse or a big manufacturing facility in your town. If you don't work there, you don't really know much about it, and it's to itself and it's quiet. The one thing I'd also say about Mahtomedi, though, that I was kind of over is that with the White Bear Lake right there too, a lot of that lakeshore on White Bear Lake is with Mahtomedi as well. So you do have that lakey, cottagey, kind of vibe, and it's, I don't know, pretty awesome. I'd probably prefer maybe Mahtomedi to live personally, just because I'm more of a small town, don't want lots of people. Saturdays and Sundays down in Stillwater can be very touristy and very busy. And even with the new big bridges and everything else they put in there to overflow traffic over to Wisconsin, takes all that pressure off of downtown, but it's still a lot of cars, a lot of people.
Cool.
Why are you guys hammering me twice now?
Because you're supposed to do that. You guys were supposed to do this last week, I guess. And you know these like the back of your hand anyway, so it doesn't matter.
I'm getting you a lot of TikTok content, Andy.
All right, cool. Oh, well, so I'm actually I didn't know this, but I was one of the higher selling percentage wise guys in Centerville, because we sell a bunch of new houses up there, and Centerville and Lino Lakes. Centerville schools are fantastic. Almost a cult-like following into that area. So people that are Centennial schools only, and when they come to that area, that's one of the biggest draws. As Centerville, I believe, has grown, it kind of accumulates parts of Lino Lakes. And Lino Lakes surrounds Centerville, I believe. I might be misspoken on that, but it seems like that's kind of the way it's been going. Whereas it grows, it seems to absorb more of that area, annexed or whatever you want to call it. But anyway, Centerville is a very small, right on the edge of the Rice Lake Park District. So if you're into biking, hiking, water, ice fishing, oh my gosh, there's so much to do there, and it's like one of the developments I'm working on is right next to Lake Peltier. Lake Peltier is gigantic. You could kayak in that thing for a day and a half. And then, you take that underneath the bridge and through the walkways, through George Washington waterway, and it goes down into Rice Lake, and it's unbelievable. It's really actually very, very cool. But when it comes to Centerville is kind of its own little bleep on the map. As you drive through from Hugo to Blaine, you go through Lino, where the speeds are 45, and then you hit Centerville for a little bit, and it goes to 30, and then it goes back up to 45. Same street. So they have different, I think it's their way to flex that they have rules.
Hey, Andy, so that's Centennial schools?
Centerville, yeah.
Oh wow, okay. See, I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's it's interesting, but I'll tell you what, that's a school from the sports angle, which I follow a lot, that you hear a lot more of now.
Oh, they not only that, they, like I was saying to you, I've worked with a couple. I've built homes for the vice principal, the soccer coach, and so it's just a great community. I've really enjoyed both of those communities, Lino Lakes and Centerville.
Yeah, because Lino's part of Centennial too, then, right?
A lot of it is, yeah. But I mean, the boundaries don't follow necessarily the cities, but it's, a lot of it is, yes.
Let me ask you about that, Andy. So there is places like, okay, say Centerville, that doesn't really have their full identity.
Yeah.
You have like a Stillwater. Everyone knows, hey, Stillwater's that town. Stillwater's that high school. We see it down here with Savage. I mean, it's Prior Lake High School, but most Savage is kind of split into Burnsville and to Prior Lake. How do you think that affects the community?
So, I was kind of listening and texting at the same time. Say that one more time. Between the two communities.
So what you do is like, let's just say a Centerville. To me, immediately when I hear Centerville, I don't really give it an identity, because I think a lot of people identify these towns with a school. So say you have Stillwater. I mean, everyone knows Stillwater, the ponies, and the city, and you just feel part of it. You go to Centerville, well, you're part of Lino Lakes with Centennial, and Savage is Prior Lake and Burnsville kind of split up. You don't have your own thing. Do you think that affects a community?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. They don't have a North Oaks community. And it's one of the nicest in the area, just north of. So North Oaks, Lino Lakes, right? Lino Lakes was always a draw back in the pioneer days. I guess they said that it was lots of natural, like wild rice everywhere, lots of game, deer and whatever else. I was just kind of, remember one of the old farmers told me about that. They always loved the area because the soils were really rich and plentiful. And so as they built around that, North Oaks kind of is, your predominant North St. Paul area, not North St. Paul, that's its own city, but St. Paul suburb, right, to the north. And it amazing, right? It has its own. James J. Hill formed that area. You go a little farther north, you're into Lino, you're into Centerville, you're into that whole area up there, Hugo. And it's just kind of grown into a very quality, nice everything. I think the streets are nice, the communities are nice, the schools are nice. So I don't know if you need to have the schools to identify in those areas, but some areas need a school district because they're not as, rich in heritage or rich in, identity. And so the school district kind of defines that community or helps define it, right? So I think there's a little bit of both happening in that area.
I think you're right. And I think that there is other things that can define a community, such as a lake or a park or whatever, trails and industry. But I think schools get a lot of that.
If it wasn't for Prior Lake High School, you guys wouldn't even be on the map. I
know, totally.
That school.
Speaking of Prior Lake High School.
Or the lake. Oh, yeah, the lake.
Be really lake. Small, but Prior Lake High School is a top 5 high school now.
I know.
With the amount of people in it. So there's still a lot more development that's kind of can happen. So I don't know if that'll be a Lakeville. I wouldn't be surprised if a Lakeville had a third school too.
It probably will. I mean, that's where the development is, and they're pro-development. So those cities that are pro-development, the other thing is that some of those people that have land that's left, like in Prior Lake, I've heard this from several developers, there's parcels of land for sale, but the land sellers, and God bless them, they're pushing the numbers beyond what the market will bear. So they don't have, where a developer can come in and actually make the bank agree to go with them on a loan, right? So they try to sell the bank. The bank's like, why would we do this if you make no money? They've taken all the juice out of it on the front end. And so then all of a sudden you don't have a development happening. So, I don't know. Pro or con doesn't matter. I think that you're right, though. There's a lot of opportunities down there. Same with Lino and Centerville, though, man. I tell you, there is so much dirt still being turned, and that Hugo, those communities up there, a little trickier to get to now. I'll tell you this: the Lino Centerville. So I don't know how you ever get to Duluth. So if you go up 35, right, or you go up 35E or 35W, they kind of wedge. Those two cities are in between the wedge. So you have to work your way back to go to 35W to go down to the city to Minneapolis, or you go 35E, which is easier, down to St. Paul. So if you commute to St. Paul, they're both easier to commute to St. Paul or St. Paul's suburbs.
Yeah, I don't know a ton about those cities. So it was good to actually hear about them.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Beautiful. All right, let's get into our Minnesota luxury spotlight.
Yeah, baby.
Brought to you by Chris Rooney Home Experts.
I was just 1 year old when my family started in real estate, where both my parents were agents. They also dabbled in investing in real estate, rentals, flips, and construction. After college, I went right into getting my license in July of 1990. As a 23-year-old agent in an industry that looks nothing like today, I had to know more for my clients to choose me. There wasn't Zillow or social media to tell them how good I was. I had to win them over with knowledge. With knowledge comes confidence, and with confidence comes results.
There you go.
I saw this about a week ago, I think, and I was like, wow. I mean, that's unbelievable, up in Detroit Lakes.
What a cool place.
Yeah, I look at that, and I mean, 11 million in Detroit Lakes.
Good luck.
There's not a lot of people.
Whole resort and the town for that, but
yeah, exactly. Well, there is a town in Colorado for $4 million that you can have. That It's on
Well,
360 acres, but
and Chris, one of the things I was going to say, and I'll let you get into this a little bit, but you remember there was a few years ago, there was some of these guys and gals that go up and they overinvest into an area. Like there's not a lot of houses in that price range, and it's cute that they ask 11 million. Will they get 11 million or will they get 3.2 million? At the end of the day, it's going to sell at a discount. You've invested into an area that will not yield you a return sometimes. So there were some cabins and homes that were built up in like the Cross Lake area that were pushing $40 million, and they sold for $6 million. Complete write-offs. Most of those sellers, and this is a weird trend, they would donate those houses to charity because a tax write-off exceeded the amount of money that they could receive. And so they donate it to the Boy Scouts or to the whatever. And these groups would inherit these houses and go, we can't afford to keep this thing running. It's too expensive. And they'd try to sell it at a discount for liquid cash. So anyway, sorry, I got a little excited there.
yeah, no, I think you're right on the nose with that, because like this one, I think in that article it talked about the guy's got over 30 million into it, and it's listed for 11 million.
Let's see it.
You just don't have that many buyers that can handle that. And you got to remember that kind of buyer as well, that has $11 million could probably replicate that somewhere over there for 15 million, but get exactly everything that they want. They might not want bits and pieces of it. And a lot of times you see money that's invested is in landscape. There's a house that just went on the market in the areas that I work. And
keep clicking, Nick. I was interested in that. That was interesting. Please.
You were interested. I was just talking about the landscaping part of it.
Yep.
I mean, even if you look at this, I mean, the upkeep that it takes to be able to make these places look good and stay good, and not, I mean, if you leave that thing alone for 6 months, you've lost it. Right. So you have to really kind of stay on it. And if you look at this, I mean, sure, it's $11 million and you got $20 million off, but you're probably going to spend $100,000 a year just maintaining it.
But Chris, where do you see? I don't see $30 million there. I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, unless it's solid gold toilets or something, I don't know how the hell they got the 30 million.
Yeah. I think you look inside. I mean, some of those.
That's why I keep asking to keep going on the photos.
Just the closet. The closet was probably $100,000 to detail what they did in that closet. It's crazy.
Well, and the point of this isn't really, is it worth it or not? That's not, I don't think, the argument here, but it's more of someone, flexed and put up the biggest house, the house they wanted, the way they wanted it, spent the money they wanted to spend, and God bless them. That's America, man. Yep. And just understand that sometimes we don't all make great decisions, and that decision was made. And like you said, Chris, to buy that, to maintain it, it's a commitment. Even at 11 million, it's a commitment just to think about the taxes. Yeah. So if they're assessing it, they're probably paying what, $200,000-300,000 a year in taxes, if that's reality.
Yeah. But they're not. I don't think people are building these types of places looking at them as an investment. You just don't, because it's right. What you want. It's more. I'll tell you what, they probably make more money bringing their clientele there than they'd ever do on the house, because their clientele is like, oh my gosh, look at these people. I mean, this is ungodly. He could do this for me, or their company must be really good. So I think there's a lot more.
Look up who owned it. Did you look up who owned it, Nick?
It says in the article.
Ace Brandt.
He was a real estate guy, big developer.
I got to comment on this. So this little coffee machine here, I mean, I think that alone is like 150 grand. Because there's some I remember in Italy that in the cafes, they're 300,000 euros.
Yeah, but that and therein lies the 30 million. It's in all those other little things that you do. I mean, it's what you put in that space. Does that outside shell look like it? No, but it's what you put inside of it.
I'm just curious if they put that in the disclosure.
What's that?
The $100,000 coffee maker.
I'm sure that people buying that understand what things cost at that level.
No, it looks like an amazing property. I'd love to tour that. They could probably do better off.
There's a closet right there. I mean, their sunglasses even have a little see-through thing.
Well, think about is that lights, or is that the glass countertop letting the light through?
This
probably the countertop on top. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I might be wrong on that closet. It's probably more. I mean, those cabinets are nicer than most people's kitchens. Look at this thing. I mean, I'm sure those are watches. There's 2 TVs in the mirrors, and
What?
That's awesome.
These are the photos that I remembered. Was the closet. You know, even that stairway right there, and as you know, I mean, a suspended stairway with those kind of wood treads I mean, it's astronomical. With that,
That's a
probably that little
$30,000
run right there is probably $40,000.
Yeah.
So, I mean, where you could do stairs, you know, for 6,000.
But you know, like what I'm saying, Chris, is like even if every room costs $100,000 to make, and you have 22 rooms in the house, that's still only 2.2 million or whatever, right?
Yeah, the inside, but I mean the land. I mean they're on 15 acres, but it's only 330 feet of lakeshore. But I think that landscaping. I mean, and you know, your brother's part of it. I mean, the landscaping expense is ungodly. I mean, this one that I went through. I mean, this house is listed in the mid 2s, and there's Ace.
Oh, he died. You see how he's dead?
Yeah, he died in 2021.
60 years old.
Yeah.
Hey, he got to enjoy it. Good for him.
Wow. Well,
yeah.
You know, and that there goes to show, you know, too, like hopefully he had everything in trust and had everything set up where it was proper, where his family doesn't have to take the burden of that. You know, they know there's a succession plan or whatever.
But I'll tell you what happens with those houses. They shoot down like this because of the maintenance that's involved. Because people think, okay, sure, I can pay $11 million, but I can't pay $400,000 a year to keep it going. And in reality, your taxes are probably closer to $200,000. I mean, you see places on Minnetonka. I mean, the taxes are $200,000. Your utilities to run those types of places are probably $3,000 a month. You have to have insurance on that. That's probably $10,000 a year. You start doing all the landscaping. I mean, it's $340,000 a month, even if you paid for it in full. So that's why. Do I look dead now, Nick? He wrote me a note and said I look dead. Did you see that, Andy?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That kid, he's nice. He's after he insulted us for screwing up his whole generation.
He was a farmer. He was a farming guy.
I love it.
Egg.
Yep.
Big money in food, big money in egg. Well, anyway, so that's an interesting piece. I think that was, to me, that's very intriguing. You know, somebody living the American dream, buying a bunch of businesses, being very successful, having the ability to do something, a project like that would be absolutely, I mean, life-changing, positive. You know, hopefully, like you said, hopefully the gentleman had an opportunity to really enjoy it before his passing.
Yeah.
That's a neat story anyway. Cool.
Hi, boys. I got 2 in-depth real estate role plays. I'll give the first one to Andy because it fits right in with you. This is the clientele. This is the clientele Andy should be dealing with. Okay.
I only like easy ones.
Ooh. Okay. I'll read it for Andy.
Okay.
The celebrity listing, the agent must represent a high-profile celebrity who's looking to sell their luxurious mansion on the outskirts of town. The agent must navigate through the complex demands of the celebrity while also dealing with the intricate details of the property.
So I got an answer.
You can be the celebrity. And Andy,
I would refer him out to Chris because I'm going to fail. I'll end up in a fist fight with the ego and be like, listen here, you're not any more important than, and no, it wouldn't work out for me.
I would just say, yes, sir. Whatever you say, sir.
Oh, I hired someone to full-time kiss your butt.
I think ultimately, though, Andy, people in those situations, they're hiring someone because they know that's not what they do. It's you know, they've made their money doing something somehow. If it's let's just say it's a baseball player, you know, that's what they do. They don't sell houses, and they need someone that knows what they're doing, that has the confidence in which to do it. And so I think you do. You got to kind of take control. And ultimately, you know, all of our clients are our employers.
Yep.
They ultimately make the decisions, but I think they want us to help them do that. I mean, that's what
Well,
we get paid to do.
but Chris, I was going to ask you, because I've dealt with this a couple times now, and I actually have a family member that does this for someone where, the modern day butler today is called a house manager.
Yeah.
And what they do is they manage all the contracts. So you, a lot of times with these high-end, high-profile people, you won't ever meet them. Or you may meet them, they may sign, shake your hand, but the house manager fills out the contracts, makes everything happen. And then, they go get the signatures for you, bring them back so that you're not dealing with, I've had that several times in my career early on where I had to deal with house managers. We were,
They have a lot of them have the ability to sign too,
yes,
on that kind of stuff. So that you can
on behalf of the
get the deal done.
LLC. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that's the way it
it
should
is
be.
very interesting. I've had the opportunity to deal with a couple of those people as well, and they usually they come and show up and look at the house, but then at that point it's all with that one person, which is I'll tell you what, I would love to do that. I wish my clients would just say, you know what, Chris, you do it, you take care of it, and I'll guarantee you 99% of the time they would end up better if I did it, because you take the emotion out of it, and it's just set kind of the boundaries and stuff, and then it's like, hey, I'll take care of it. I'll tell you when it's done.
Well, and I just kind of interestingly, living into a life, it's kind of looking into that lifestyle. I've got a friend of mine, and a retired individual that took a job and manages a property for a very wealthy family where it's 4,000 plus acres, all hunting land up north, fishing, private lakes, big, 10,000 square foot log home with its own private airstrip. And these guys literally fly in celebrities. They fly in professional athletes. They fly in celebrities. And it's their job to be there at the airport with the punch list of, they like Coors Light. They want the mountains cold. They want this. They want beef jerky. And they show up and they make sure all that stuff's there. Then they might sit for 2 weeks with nothing to do except watch people mow grass. And then it's insane for 2 weeks. Why they have just like deer hunting season or pheasant hunting or whatever. All of a sudden they've got, every other day somebody's flying in. And like he said, he goes, I got an appreciation for the planes too. He goes, these people are coming in on some of these mega jets and landing at these little airports. And it's pretty cool stuff. But you don't think it happens? It happens every day around us.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. They're busy at their craft.
Yeah.
And they need that help, and it's a big thing. I mean, even to organize that, and it's a big thing.
Well, think about this, Chris. So you have your favorite Hollywood whatever. And when's the last time they did a movie? 3 years ago, 4 years? What do they do for 3 years? They don't just like hide in a cave. They're out living life, and they're just doing it very privately, So
We had, just kind of a small piece of that. We had Chris's dad. It was Nick's grandpa. It was his 80th birthday yesterday, and he's in great shape. He golfs 5 times a week, by the way. And
wow.
So my wife, what she did, she hired a chef to be able to come in, and we've done that before and had it, and he's fantastic. But it's just amazing how, like, from a host or me cooking, it's just that it's so awesome because you can now just concentrate on your guests versus doing that. And that's obviously it's a lot lesser level, but you can imagine someone like a Carlos Correa, that just gets done hitting a triple to win a game, and he's flying back into town, and his wife is, saying, hey, we've got a party coming, and we had to invite all these people, and we had to do this and that, and he's got to come into town and work the grill. It's not going to happen. They have it all set, and he can just kind of enjoy his time, and he makes $35 million a year. No big deal.
Yeah, and then you get into my world, and I cater with the local Mexican restaurant.
Yeah.
And
hey, you did cater with those one people that were freaking amazing.
Oh yeah, no. We've done it before too, where on a smaller scale, probably not, but it's a lot of fun. It really does change the dynamic of the party and becomes more of a festive environment and fun. And you don't have to worry about filling up the chip container. Somebody else is doing that.
You actually introduced me to one of the best food trucks ever. Medbox Grill.
Yep.
That was amazing.
That's my wife, Lisa. She found him.
Was that at Hannah's? Graduation.
Hannah's graduation party was coming right out of COVID, where these guys hadn't been working very much.
Yeah.
And it was really fun to get everybody together. And oh my God, if you ever have a chance to get their food truck at a party, do it.
It's amazing.
Insane.
Yeah.
They make like I would say, and I think it's Turkish, the food, but it's you think of like a gyro, which is Greek or whatever, but it's the same kind of meats, but in like a thinner like burrito.
Tortilla, yeah.
Oh my God, it is knock it out of the park, delish.
Was
Yeah.
it a kebab?
Yeah. They actually have a storefront.
It's like a Euro burrito.
They have a storefront now in
Yeah.
Chanhassen.
Chanhassen, okay.
Yeah, but
sounds
it's only
like a
open
kebab.
certain times. What's that, Nick?
It sounds just like a kebab. If it's
Yeah,
in the
they
thin
do.
thing.
They do kebab. That was my go-to in Poland, kebab. I just pointed at the picture. They gave me that thing. It was awesome.
They're like, are you sure you want the goat testicles? They look the best. You're like eating them going, what the hell is this?
All right, this next one,
Are you sure you want the goat that tickles?
Yes. And you're like, they look like meatballs. I'll take them. Hey, you know what?
What is wrong with you? Oh my God.
a lot of good information, but this one, do it more like a role play. So Andy, you're going to be the international connection, and Chris is going to help you out.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Whoa.
Ooh, a seasoned real estate agent. So who's the seasoned real estate agent? Is that me?
Yes, and Andy's the international connection.
Okay, I'm presented with an opportunity to represent Andy, this wealthy international buyer who's looking to invest in the local real estate market. As the agent, I got to navigate through potential language barriers, cultural differences, and complex legal regulations.
Andy, you can use your Polish accent.
I don't know what a Polish accent sounds like.
What do you mean? You're Polish, aren't you? Here's what I'm going to do. Hi, Andy. How are you? And then it's going to.
Why don't I do Russian? I'll be like, hello.
Yeah, I'm going to translate. I'll tell you what, Nick. On this, I'm just going to start this off by saying that this would probably be out of my comfort zone, and the best thing that for me to do as a realtor is to be able to get it to someone that's going to be able to help this gentleman a lot more. Andy's very sophisticated. Talks a totally different language, and I think that it might be better and determining. I'm going to try to find out, number one, from Andy, what is it that he's trying to invest in? I mean, is he real? Can he afford it?
Hello, I'm from Europe.
Exactly. He's
international investor here.
Yeah. And so it's kind of like Andy, more than likely, if he's going to invest in the U.S., it's not like us going to Salvador and grabbing something for 30,000. I mean, here's someone that's coming over that understands what the regulations are and what he needs to do, and to be able to get into the country and bring his money into the country. So I think there's a lot of upfront work that would need to be done and to be discussed. But ultimately, it probably should go to someone else that really knows what they're doing, kind of more of an international type realtor. But what it's good for us is to be able to connect them with that person and have a contact like that would be amazing. But I just don't know enough.
Resources in the world for us as local real estate agents. The University of Minnesota has students from all over the world that are motivated to work, would probably love to be a translator. I mean, you look at the lineup of countries that are represented and the languages that are actually spoken, bilingual languages, and we could probably find a translator pretty easy. I think the tax law part of it would be the biggest key thing, is like, how do they protect their assets? You go on the deed, it's fee simple, everything's understood. There's rules with when you pay taxes. I think that would be important to explain to somebody, having a local accountant maybe that helps them pay their taxes or whatever else. But I think we can handle it, Chris.
I think too. Yeah. I mean, you might be able to, but I'll tell you what, also in those types of investments, because I assume if he's coming over, he's wealthy, all of that, he's going to.
Would I wear glasses like this if I wasn't?
Yeah. Yeah. Whether it's shopping malls or, big pieces of land, it's
Nick,
skyscrapers.
Nick, he won't take the bait.
Yeah. Whatever you're going to purchase, typically on the commercial end of it, attorneys play a much bigger role than what would happen in the residential market. So a lot of times those contracts, from an agent perspective, that I wouldn't feel as bad about that. I would want to know some of the intricacies, but that's the attorney's job at those, because some of those contracts can be hundreds of pages long. Protecting them, especially from a foreign country. And then also, I mean, what's the rules of our country? I mean, are you able to buy it? You know, so.
Well, the Foreign Investment Tax Act or whatever it was that they put into play a couple of years ago. So it's interesting, on every purchase or listing agreement, every disclosure statement, it asks you if you're a foreign person. And the reason why they ask that is there's new tax laws that will allow. So let's say that our investor takes his profits and it's $200,000, and he takes it and he doesn't pay his obligations here in the States and leaves and takes his money and runs. The new buyer of that property will be assessed that tax, and it can be a mess. And so what'll end up happening is, like back in the housing crisis, you had investors from Canada and China and all over the world that were buying U.S. households. And it was legit. They were buying them as an investment. They'd buy them for $100. They'd, sell them for $300. They'd make profit, but they weren't paying necessarily the capital gains. And the Fed saw that and said, all right, we're going to do the FERPTA or whatever rule that is. And that's where they were recapturing that.
I think why they're doing it for the buyer, Andy, was that the buyers were kind of in on it.
Sure.
They were buying it, and those guys were taking off. They were handing them some money on the backside. So, little pay to play scheme.
A little Slim Shady going on there.
That never happens, ever. Yeah.
I still can't believe you didn't bite Chris on and asking me questions. I was ready. Hello. Right, Nick? I was ready. I was full character, bro.
I know.
I know you were. You were good.
Chris wanted zero part of that conversation.
There's a lot of good information on both role plays, though. So it was.
Well, but I think the thing is those are interesting questions, because even like when I was up in Canada a week and a half ago, we were sitting there and we had guys from Canada talking about making investments in the States, and I'm like, hey, come on down to Minnesota. Let's buy you guys a cabin. You can go back and forth between the two up in northern Minnesota, have some wonderful fishing. A lot of those guys come down here for healthcare. Weird enough, their universal healthcare is garbage, according to them. And they're like, we come down to the States to get our stuff. So,
did you bring that smoke with you? Yesterday was unbelievable.
I may or may not have started a campfire. I didn't put out 100%. So, when we were doing our shore lunches, it's not even funny.
Nick, I don't know if you've heard this, but Canada's basically in flames. And I mean, yesterday, looking across the lake, it was like the foggiest day. They canceled baseball games all around because of air quality here in Minnesota.
Smoke.
So, actually,
it's kind of gross out today.
Minnetonka's in the state baseball tournament, and they lost. And so they were going for the third place game against Edina. They said, you know what? We're not even going to play it. They had to share the third place trophy.
Wow.
Because of the smoke.
But you guys have your masks from the pandemic, so you're safe now. You can wear that.
I don't have any masks.
You should get one for that air quality.
I haven't had it for a long time. I know. I might have to get one again. Yeah. Dang it.
But anyways, you guys glad to be back? Was it fun?
Yeah. Feels good.
That's good.
I feel alive.
A lot of good content out of this one. Everyone else, give us a like, subscribe to that YouTube, write us a review. Our link tree is down there. I posted in the comments, so click on that. It has everything you need. Our website, Sakuna Matata. See you guys next week.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Real Estate Radio Hour. Don't forget to visit our website, realestateradiohour.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, or your preferred podcast listening app. If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes or sharing us with a friend. Until next time, stay awesome, Twin Cities.